Annual wellness visits, or AWVs, are a yearly assessment of one's health. But do you know how to properly bill for the annual wellness visit program? In this video, we'll break down everything you need to know for AWV CPT codes so you can properly bill and code for this important yearly service. Hey there, this is Lauren with ThoroughCare. Here at ThoroughCare, we're helping practices every day to help manage, bill, and streamline annual wellness visits, as well as many of the value-based care programs that Medicare offers. Billing codes for AWVs are important to understand so you know exactly what to bill. There are 4 types of different annual wellness visit codes that you can bill for, and there's also an advanced care planning code that is covered also at 0% copay for a few of the annual wellness visits that we will cover today. But before we look at the codes, let's take a better look at how annual wellness visits work. Annual wellness visits are a yearly assessment of a patient's current health. Now, it's important to note that an annual wellness visit should not be confused with a routine general physical examination. In fact, you should bill separately at another time for that service altogether. Annual wellness visits are included for free at 0 copay for patients enrolled in Medicare Part B. Now, if a patient isn't enrolled in Medicare Part B, there are also some other primary insurances that may cover the copay. Be sure to check with your biller or insurance representative for those insurances. A doctor and care team member will spend this time to identify potential health issues through a health risk assessment. The Health Risk Assessment, or HRA, is a series of questions regarding the patient's health history, current issues, cognitive impairment issues, just to name a few. You can find out more about this important health risk assessment on our Learning Center in the link below this video. The overall goal is to establish a record of a patient's physical and mental well-being. The annual wellness visit is more about recognizing possible gaps in a patient's health for the purpose of preventative health planning. It should include, but is not limited to, a review of a patient's medical and family history, developing or updating a list of current providers and prescriptions, height, weight, blood pressure, and other routine measurements, possible detection of cognitive impairment, personalized health advice, and a screening schedule or checklist for appropriate preventative services. For participating, a patient will receive a personalized risk prevention plan targeted for specific diseases or disabilities relevant to their current health situation. Wellness visits come in 3 different varieties. These include the Initial Preventive Physical Examination, or more commonly known as the Welcome to Medicare or IPPE visit, the Initial Annual Wellness Exam, or the IAWV, and each year thereafter a subsequent annual wellness visit, or the SAWV. All of these annual wellness visits are very similar, but it is important to note some of the main differences for billing purposes. Mainly, the difference between when the annual wellness visit should be done with the patient and what type they are eligible for. Now, let's talk about the CPT codes for annual wellness visits. As a for-fee service or a rural health clinic, you can bill for 3 of the codes, but for federally qualified health centers, or FQHCs, there is one specific code you can only bill for. For initial annual wellness visits and subsequent annual wellness visits, you can also tack on an advanced care planning CPT code or codes if you have that important end-of-life discussion during the AWV exam. More on that to come in a bit. But first, let's talk about the IPPE, or the Initial Preventive Physical Examination. The patient is billed using code G0402. Now, this code you can only bill within the first 12 months of the patient's enrollment within Medicare Part B. This is considered a once-in-a-lifetime benefit. So, if the patient is to receive an AWV after the first 12 months, they would not be eligible for the G0402 or the IPPE. They would then move on to the IAWV, where they would start. So, to summarize, after the initial 12-month eligibility period, a patient is no longer eligible for the IPPE. One thing we touched upon is the health risk assessment, or the HRA. The HRA needs to be done with every annual wellness visit. The national average reimbursement for the IPPE using CPT code G0402 is $168. Now let's talk about the next annual wellness visit and how to bill for the IAWV, or Initial Annual Wellness Visit. To bill for the IAWV, you're going to need to use code G0438. The IAWV can only be done 12 months after the patient has completed their IPPE, remember billing for code G0402, or if that eligibility period has passed, this is the AWV your patient would start with. Just like the IPPE, the health risk assessment will drive the IAWV process, and in many cases, you'll use the health risk assessment from the previous year's AWV for the current health risk assessment and make any updates along the way. Now, the only main difference is during the IAWV, you can also do a cognitive impairment exam, which can be the mini-cog or another exam that you are comfortable in giving your patients. And this also includes that advanced care planning module. So the IPPE, you cannot do advanced care planning. The IAWV, and later the SAWV, you can offer that end-of-life planning talk at no additional charge. The national average for G0438 is $174. Now, the last code for fee-for-service and rural health clinics that you'll need to know is the code for subsequent annual wellness visits. This CPT code is G0439. Now, this is the AWV visit that you'll do year after year, 12 months after completing the initial annual wellness exam. The G0439 code is basically the exact same as G0438. So the health risk assessment, the exam, end-of-life planning can all be done within the subsequent annual wellness visit. As the years pass and the patient's health changes over time, this might be a great opportunity for providers to offer additional value-based care services such as chronic care management, behavioral health integration, and remote patient monitoring, just to name a few. National average reimbursement for this is about $120. Now let's talk a little bit more about that Advanced Care Planning CPT code 99497. It's important to note that Advanced Care Planning, or ACPs, aren't a type of annual wellness visit, but during the initial annual wellness visit and the subsequent annual wellness visit, this important end-of-life talk can be added to the service free of charge to the patient, so no copay for this either. Advanced Care Planning is basically an end-of-life talk to go over such important items as future medical plans and power of attorney options. This code can be billed for up to 30 minutes of time using CPT code 99497. National average reimbursement for this code is about $85. There is also an add-on code for Advanced Care Planning for additional 30 minutes over the initial 30 minutes using CPT code 99498. This is rarely used, but can also be tacked on with no additional copay. Now, keep in mind, Advanced Care Planning is fully covered for Medicare Part B patients if done during an IAWV or subsequent annual wellness visit. And finally, the last AWV CPT code is reserved for federally qualified health centers. Now, these federally qualified health centers have an all-inclusive CPT code known as G0468 that is an average reimbursement of all three fee-for-service CPT codes. Even though you can only bill G0468 year after year, you'll still need to comply with the type of annual wellness visit your patient is eligible for, whether it be the IPPE, IAWV, or subsequent annual wellness visit. You'll still need to comply to the needs of each individual visits, even though you'll only be billing for that one specific code. The national average reimbursement for G0438 is about $153. Now, what are the recommendations for an annual wellness visit? Well, first, and perhaps the most important, is the development of a 5 to 10 year personal prevention plan. This is given to the patient after the annual wellness visit is done and includes a comprehensive list of tests, vaccinations, and screenings that are recommended for the Americans over the age of 65. Now, this is where a good dialogue between you and your patients is critical. This personalized prevention plan can be used for future medical services that are found as risks in that health risk assessment. So it is pivotal that the patient receive a copy and that is also known by both the patient and provider that these are the most important items in your health that we need to cover here in the near future. A wellness visit can also identify preventative health services such as chronic care management or behavioral health integration options based on those risks found in the health risk assessment. So basically, the AWV can be the perfect opportunity to talk about enrolling in these other important value-based care programs. So now that you have a better understanding of the annual wellness visits and the CPT codes that drive reimbursement, what should we do next? Well, under this video, there is a link to our Learning Center. Our Learning Center is written by our own on-staff clinician team, giving you more information about the rules and regulations of AWVs, best practices in setting up and running a program, and other answers to the most common questions we receive here every day at ThoroughCare. If you'd like even more information, book a discovery call or a live demo with a ThoroughCare representative. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. And finally, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.